Thank you very much, guys, for joining on today's call. I will briefly introduce how the concept is evolving. And so as you probably know, we have found the name for this initiative. I was looking for the name for quite time, but now we have selected Aviabees, like, bees and aviation, so collaboration and stuff like that. So we found that pretty aligned with the idea. And you can see the logo here. And what I would like to cover today, just a few words about new members. I will show you website project. I will say also something about OAuth 2, which we are almost done with. And I think that the most important part is the fourth one, which is ideas on how we should progress. And maybe we can get some feedback on new implementations or your ideas, and that would be the open discussion, I guess. Yes, yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, there was a meeting in Moscow, Moscow workshop. I don't know if you have participated, but I talked to Evgeny, and he joined our initiative with two his companies, which is Aviapages and Mirai Flights. I guess he's going to be here. Maybe he will be late in a moment. But I am not, honestly, I'm not putting too much effort on this stage into in introducing new companies to the group, because first of all, I would like to complete some steps I will describe to you in a moment, because I don't want to make it too much in advance. It's enough that we are like 15 companies or so. It's fairly enough to start. Yeah, so the second point is the first version of Aviabees website. So I will share the screen with you. If you go to aviabees.org, which is the group address, .com will redirect to aviabees.org later on, because we took 2 domains. But under aviabees.org, you will see just a placeholder for the website. And let me just actually show you the project itself, where I have it. Okay, just a second.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. So, yeah. Oh, there's Evgeny, okay. So, yeah, once you see the screen, please let me know.
I see it.
It's up. Yep.
Yeah,
it's okay.
so we have a project like that. It's a simple one page. Okay, maybe I should wait for a second, a few more seconds, because more people are joining. Okay, I'm very happy that there is so much interest. So this is the website. Generally speaking, we have focused on 3 main goals. I will let you know about those 3 main goals we would like to move this group forward. 3 main reasons. So the first one, the most important one, I guess, is figuring out API communication standards, or in general, introducing practices which could be beneficial for all members, for competitors as well. I mean, for example, I can imagine a lot of competitors within this initiative, because it's in their interest to kind of try to find a common language in terms of interfaces. We all know how difficult it is to do a lot of interfaces within for different softwares, authentication, data structures, schemes, lots of that. So this is the first idea, which has been in my mind, to start a group, actually, to discuss it and implement something real useful for all. The second one would be the market overview. What I mean by market overview is that it would be a great place to have, all companies from aviation software vendors, cloud-based vendors listed somehow, and with a little bit more information about them. So let's say just a very short introduction of each company, so that somebody who is browsing this website could see the landscape of the market, because there are so many companies popping out. There are more features added to particular software vendors. This landscape is evolving all the time. And for example, for myself, I find it very difficult sometimes to kind of have this picture, understand how the market looks like in particular moments. So I guess this would be the second goal. And the third goal, the last one, is just networking. So even now I can just chat with Diego, for example. I did it with Maxime using Slack. So this Slack is very useful. Slack workspace, which we have, is useful for implementing those stuff, which we are discussing in point number 1, but also it's kind of shortening the distance between each members. Excuse me. Can you mute yourself, because I can see a lot of background noise from somebody. Oh, thank you. So yeah, so this is the goal number 3, networking. The project is, of course, this is just a concept. There will be probably some list, and there will be later on there will be a news feed which is connected to the Twitter account. Twitter account is ready, and we would like to tweet about that. For example, we have a new member, that particular member pick up some project and he, let's say, announced that the project will be delivered until XYZ. Things like that, very short messages without any overwhelming lots of stuff, just short messages, and just the contact page and some legal information here. We are now working on this. For the time being, I can imagine before this group get any traction, real traction, so initiative from members, we as Leon Software, we will be taking care of that legally, in terms of that we will figure out this GDPR terms of service stuff. It will be very simple. Like, for example, you can join anytime, you can resign anytime, stuff like that. Just very transparent things. This is very important for EBAA to kind of support this idea, as Paul Walsh told me. So it will be there, and also we will add here under this API communication standard additional link to the sub page where new projects will be available, and here another link to the market overview, and here another link to the Slack workspace, so that you can be invited. So very simple page. Okay, now I will go back to the main presentation. I don't know if you liked it, but how do you think about the graphics?
Good
They
job.
look great.
Pavel.
I like the bumblebee theme, the hex, the hex. Very clever.
Looks great, Pavel. Well done.
Yeah,
I like it also.
Thank you very much. So okay, we are already on LinkedIn, which the group is there really for some start. We started as a LinkedIn group. There is a Twitter account and YouTube channel, and on YouTube channel there will be there are going to be recordings from those meetings, which we are going to make every once per 3 months. I don't think there is any necessity to make it more often. Once per 3 months is okay at the time being, I think. And of course, there is this Slack workspace. It already works, and later on, if any information should be exchanged about particular projects, it will be useful for communication. The next one, out to feedback. I would like to let you know that we almost done out to, and I have discussed it so far with Diego and gets a little bit of his feedback, and I realized that not maybe it's the best moment for everybody to pick up exactly this item, but I'm very curious if any of you did any kind of research towards that at all, or you just thought it was not the perfect time to make it happen. What's your ideas about that? And did you investigate it a little bit? Maybe any of you? Yeah. Diego, go ahead.
Well, I break the ice. In our case, we investigated it. The thing with the AviWiki, it seems that at the moment we do more system-wide integrations, and OAuth 2 would be more useful when we actually need to authenticate with a specific user in a system where we don't have an agreement with the system. But in most of the cases, our agreements are directly with the system. Let's say with Leon, they just need one authentication key. So we don't need a mechanism every time to authenticate every operator individually. So because of that, and a bit of an idea to keep the authentication and in general, the whole of our API very simple to access, that at the moment we are not implementing OAuth 2 for these reasons, but there might be probably more towards next year some use case for this.
Yeah, I think I will pick up on this in a moment, but I guess there is maybe too little explanation from business perspective why OAuth 2 is a good choice. So later on, I will let you know, not specifically about OAuth 2, but the method I can imagine we could introduce new projects. So any other member or any other of you guys did check anything about OAuth 2 or just Diego?
Pavel, we didn't really have time in our company yet due to other priorities, but could you maybe explain again the purpose? Because I've also let my colleague Peter join. So maybe you can introduce a bit your ID again. Is that possible?
Yeah. Of course, I will cover that in a moment, because I think I have an idea about how to proceed with those projects in general, because that was a lot of thinking on my side. I also discussed it with Diego, because it's very difficult to find the very practical and kind of quick way for picking up projects and how to join them. So yeah, I will answer your question, but generally speaking, so for the time I will tell you just without a lot of details that OAuth 2, basically when you need to authenticate within other software, regardless if you are doing it for entire account or just for a specific user or anything, you need to authenticate. And the simplest way is that the second software gives you some kind of token, right? And then you use this token to call this software. And this way, this software identifies you as a valid API requester. And OAuth 2 allows to exchange this token automatically. So basically, it's a very short explanation, and I think I will do a white paper on that. So I will prepare some description about the business reasons why it might be useful, and I will just publish that and will let you know. I would like to check this with my CTO as well, just not to avoid. I'm not very deep technically into that, but I will prepare the paper and I will distribute it to you if that's okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Yeah, and now about the progress. So I was thinking, how should we actually, because Diego, I realized that maybe OAuth 2 is not the best idea for all members. We have all our own priorities. I mean, business priorities. For example, it's very difficult to kind of dedicate a dedicated amount of development power to develop OAuth 2 if you don't need it at that particular moment. So I realized that we cannot propose ideas in a kind of backlog way, and we could collectively pick one after another. It's unrealistic. I think it depends a lot on particular software vendor requirements. For example, you might have idea to exchange, I don't know, Mateusz can have an idea about exchanging weight and balance with another software, and because he's doing this exchange, maybe he can introduce idea about the data format for weight and balance or something like that. So my idea is that every member anytime can introduce his own idea about any project, which might be, for example, our is OAuth 2, and instead of voting for ideas, I think others could join the project or not. So basically speaking, we would vote with our developers' work. This would be kind of in Darwinian way, I mean, so like in an open source environment. So let's say, and in order to introduce any project to the group, I can imagine only answering 3 questions. One would be, what is the business reason we should follow the idea? And I'm going to answer those questions for OAuth 2. The second, how should we implement it? So to have some documentation, or at least link to documentation or something to pick up the idea. And the last one is, who is leading the project, in terms of who can we contact to in order to get some explanation if there are any doubts. And we are, after answering those 3 questions, we can put this idea on the website, and then whoever wants to join, it just joins at any time which is suitable for him. So we would have a kind of list of projects, and naturally those which are interested for others would be more frequently accessed or followed, and those projects would kind of pop out on the top, and others would maybe die eventually. So I don't know, what do you think about that? But it's the easiest way, in my opinion, to, at least for the beginning, because we have not a lot of traction. We are just at the starting point. So my thinking is that it should be very low traction for any member to initiate anything, because if there would be any voting, that someone might think, okay, maybe my idea wouldn't be voted up, so it's a little bit discouraging. But if and in this way, for example, let's say Pascal from my handling is exchanging some FBO data with, I don't know, Skylex for any reason, and they do some work, and maybe the same work probably will be for transferring the data for any other reasons. They might make it public if they think this is useful for example, for data scheme or something like that. What do you think about that? Because that's actually the most important part I wanted to discuss with you. How can we effectively propose next ideas? I will put this once we have this website and everything is running. I think it will be ready until end of the month. I hope so. I will put this out to explanation. And probably we will also propose maybe single sign-on, because this is probably from our perspective, something our customer would benefit if a lot of companies who are integrated would use the single sign-on. That is one of the pain of our customers. But maybe others could have another ideas, or maybe not. But at any time they could, just initiate. What do you think?
I think it's a great idea, Paul. We'll of course have to look internally and discuss what we can share and what we can discuss with you guys. But I think you build a platform which is very practical, and yeah, so for us it sounds good, I would say.
Okay. And do you have any maybe? I mean, did you have any ideas? Because, for example, on this EBAA Tech Committee, Diego was explaining me a little bit that there are some ideas there to kind of propose, for example, data schemes or anything. I'm not expecting, sharing your own internal kind of work, but rather than that, just proposing something which might be useful for everybody. You know what I mean? For example,
to improve the industry in its whole, and not just your own benefit. I understand what you mean. Yeah, that's what you mean, right?
Yeah. Evgeny, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is great idea because every time when we need to join any platform and to transfer the data, we need to make the new project, you know, and if we can synchronize our work and we can do something together, I think it will beneficial for all the parties. Because you know, if we need to connect in any cases to Lion software, we need to make some work. If we need to join the Skylegs, we need to do some work. If we can synchronize it in any way, it will be much more easier for us on the first steps. But if we can standardize the information between the different vendors, it will be great because this is the future. I say that's why I totally agree with you.
Yeah, the difficult part is just to how to achieve it. Honestly, Diego, you can go ahead. You just want
You know,
to speak.
without such a platform, we it's no chance to agree.
Yeah, yeah,
If
yeah,
we
yeah.
have a
We
platform, we can achieve this. That's
hopefully,
very
yeah,
simple.
yeah, hopefully. Uh, Diego, please go ahead.
Well, continuing on Evgeny's point, as we spoke, Pavel, and one project that I feel strongly about. Obviously, it's part of what we are trying to achieve with Aviawiki, but is the standardization of the public interfaces. So the schemas. How do we how do we describe a flight? How do we describe a passenger or a passenger document or related to what we do in airport? So with this, to kickstart the project, I said I'm more than happy to totally open our API schema, and we already don't consider it proprietary information. So I'm happy for that to become part of this project. And also it enriches us because anyone can say, oh, actually, for helipads, this property is very important and it's not there yet. And this is how you calculate it. This is how you obtain it. And this is the regulatory framework and all of that. So it can also, I think, opening that up more, which is already something we are doing with the .org website that shows the schema and the documentation publicly. It can also enrich our product. So if this idea has traction, I'm happy to donate what we have regarding airports, regarding runways, regarding ground service providers, and flights. That's what we currently have in our public API. And then anyone can decide to adopt it, modify it. We can look at versioning, make sure it's backward compatible, and stuff like that.
Yeah, good point. I think. Yeah,
Go ahead, Pavel.
Yeah. I just wanted to maybe say that simultaneously, while we are benefiting all members, also those members who are initiating their ideas, let's say, it's in their business interest, right? Because they have those schemas, they have it well designed and so on. So if that would be the schema, let's say, which could be implemented, then it would be easier for them to transfer their own data towards the schema because they have just designed it. So I think it's in the interest of participants to initiate some ideas, to kind of align those ideas with also, to be honest, we must be honest about that, also with their own business interest, right? So at the end of the road, collectively we can achieve, I think, improving, exchanging the information, standardizing the way we authorize, login or whatever, just by bringing different bits and pieces, maybe in a different order, and during this path we can benefit locally, but in the end the synergy will happen. So I think it's very difficult at the very beginning to see the end result of those foundations, but I think it's just important to understand that those bits and pieces at the very beginning, those they won't be, you know, so obviously beneficial until others would follow the same ideas, I think, and then that would be the platform to broadcast those ideas and also to encourage others to implement. Because let's say maybe some other company, like Mateusz told me from Avionika, that they have out on their backlog. Maybe when this is well described, the business logic is described, maybe on some stage in the future, some other company would follow, because they would see that, okay, that company implemented, because they would follow the tweets, and they would realize that actually the industry is accepting that a little bit more. So I think it's also about exchanging this kind of progress, which is fueling motivation to do those stuff. I must say to you honestly that, you know, before the meeting, today's meeting, it was like a month ago or 1.5 months ago, I realized, okay, I told about this auth too, but we did not start, you know. So I started the idea, but I didn't have auth to kind of say to you as an example that I did it. So yeah, we did a lot of efforts to kind of push it, not to be received in kind of hypocrites, you know. So because we are proposing something and not doing that. And probably if I would not have this perspective of embarrassment, I must say, then I would not implement this idea. You know what I mean? So it's kind of also auditory, who watching the progress of others, and like a little bit like customers. I mean, customers are pushing really because you make the business out of that. But also this environment, I feel it like, you know, people are watching, and it's good to deliver something. So that's why we will very soon finish us too. Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
So in regards of OAuth2, I mean, the OAuth2 is a specification that has been defined, and implementations exists in a wide range of development languages, and there are a lot of libraries all around the ecosystem of the internet, basically. So the topic of OAuth2 is that more trying to get everyone engaged and motivated to also start implementing it in their softwares, and trying to adopt that standard into this niche market of aviation integrators, basically. That's what I kind of understand from
yes,
what
exactly.
you're explaining, because the standard itself is already defined.
Exactly. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. It's exactly as you said. If a lot of software vendors who need to talk to each other would have this implemented, and as you said, it's a wide accepted, open, well described with different languages standard, which is monitored in terms of security and stuff like that. I don't think in our interest is reinvent the wheel. For any integration to happen, we need to handshake. And we did it once with another company who did implement OAuth2. Of course, it required, it was a little bit work at the very beginning, because there are some kind of back and forth token exchanges. You know, it's not so very super easy at the very beginning. So as Diego investigated the topic, I can imagine it's a little bit overwhelming at the very first step, but that's an investment. After that, you have a lot of automation, a lot of security, a lot of stuff like that. So let's say if we want to connect to another software and they do OAuth2, we do OAuth2, we have experience with that. Handshake is easy. It's easy, it's secure, it's automated. So we are already lowering the cost of development for the integration. That is the idea, basically, to kind of accept the way we handshake.
Yeah, understood. To basically hire our own standards to the same level in terms of authenticating towards each other's microservices and services that we're offering. So with TIDs, I was hearing some other things also. I think it was Diego that offered something in regards of, let's try to agree on how certain entities on a domain level basically are to be defined. Like let's agree on what an airport needs to have, and let's agree on what a flight needs to have. So we're talking about defining industry standards on what an entity in software should have. Basically, an interface. The object should implement an interface that is defined in some sort of standard. And I do like the idea of hearing such a thing, but it would require for us a platform where we can actually discuss and develop such interfaces. And I think we do not need to develop in the same languages to be able to develop such interfaces, to develop develop such standards. So we if we have those, we can assume that integrating with each other will become easier because everyone is following the same standard and interface. So I do like that idea. And it sounds if we want to go ahead with something like that, that we need some kind of collaboration platform, like we internally are using GitHub. So I'm not sure what you guys are using, but I guess we would need for Aviabees basically some sort of GitHub where we can start discussions about something like that. I mean, perhaps I'm going too quickly now, but I do like the idea.
Exactly. For the time we have Slack.
Okay.
It's a very kind of beginning, but yeah, I think, and we have a LinkedIn group as well. But it's more about the business in discussion. Yeah, it's a perfectly valid point. I mean, the data structure, what Diego mentioned, is something we could, for example, work on. And depending on your local requirements, because as I understand, you integrate your software with another software, and you need to solve this problem many times, right? And oftentimes those data structures are being repeated in different kind of layouts, formats. So it would be great to have it kind of common standard, like, for example, I don't know, movement message is well defined, right? Industry is following these movement messages. Those are those messages for slots, for things like that. I mean, we can exactly the same define maybe some atomic data points. Of course, those schemes depends on business logic, because you can transfer the flight, only the schedule itself, or you can maybe exchange more information attached to the flight. And yeah, this is probably more discussion about that, how to make it flexible. But as you said, this is exactly something we would like to achieve, and something Diego was, as I understand, Diego was talking about.
So a third topic that was raised was the example of my handling. So we all need to develop a communication layer with the API that we're integrating with. And I'm not talking about what we're actually doing eventually with the data in our local domain, in our local application, but I'm talking about the layer that we need to create to talk to that particular API. That, of course, is very dependent on the language you're developing in. Are you a Delphi developer? Are you a PHP developer? Are you a C#, whatever? I guess if there is a common ground in languages, we could decide that the communication abstraction basically could be developed in a collaboration kind of way, like open source within the group, basically, because if we're developing the components, the services to communicate with the SOAP service of my handling, we could collaborate on that as the versions will evolve. Then, I mean, it could be a shared kind of burden, basically, because we all need to have that particular layer without looking at the exact how we use it in our application, of course. But I guess you kind of understand what I'm saying. Like AWS, they have SDKs for their APIs
exactly.
in so many languages. And
yeah.
We do not have the abilities to develop like a Skylix for our own API. We will not develop an SDK for all those languages that exist, but we could collaborate within the group, I guess, on common interfaces we are all using, and share the development costs to maintain such.
Peter, there's potentially an easier path, which is what I meant by using common schema is always seeing it from a REST API perspective. And if you define the interface in, for example, in OpenAPI standards, then anyone can ingest the OpenAPI specification and create a client in any language. So, for example, in Aviwiki, we use Swagger for our documentation at developer level. And from Swagger, you can create a client for any language. So something, if we decide that Open API specification should be what everyone uses, then it will be super easy for anyone to create their own client in their own language.
And that's again on the level of the OAuth2 incentive, I guess, because we're trying to motivate each other to use OAuth2, and then we could also try to motivate each other to use the Open API specifications, and that would simplify the way we integrate with each other. So I guess that's a bit of the question, of course. On what level will we collaborate? Will it trying to motivate each other to follow certain standards, or will it go deeper with real collaboration on software development and so on? It's an interesting topic to think about, I guess. But for starters,
yeah,
I agree with.
I think it's. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, for starters, I agree with. I think the first step is, of course, motivating each other to follow certain standards, and that's the first step anyway. But more can follow, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I think easy start is something I was thinking about. I mean, to try to motivate and help each other in development of specific items. Let's say with adopting, for example, certain standards, because if somebody did it already, we can maybe ask for some help or explanation or whatever, and then just, as you said, motivate each other in a way that we can publish what is the progress of different members with the implementation of those things, and if those things are beneficial once we have them commonly accepted, then we have this end value, which is lowering the cost of further development. And in terms of, I guess, collaboration, how deeply we could collaborate, I guess that would evolve naturally. I mean, if anyone would initiate any project on any level, then we would see if that would get attraction, because I can imagine it needs to be relatively simple to start with, and then once we have this simple goals achieved, I guess, then we could maybe be more ambitious. But what I think it's very difficult to put ambitious goals before starting those small things, because it evaporates then somehow, I mean, at least this is my understanding of a little bit of the past work with tech committee, that I just would like to avoid going too deeply into theory and concept level thinking towards some small improvements which are not so sexy maybe, and like AI or whatever super hot topics, but that we actually could benefit in small parts, but to move forward an inch. That was also, I'm very curious if we are able to do so. That's why I was thinking about OAuth2 at the very beginning. Maybe there are some other ideas, maybe schemes, whatever. But yeah, that's the challenge: how we can progress without putting too ambitious goals, and just to be able to show to others that, okay, that was done. A company X did implement XYZ, and another one joined. These kind of small things. So yeah, that's an open question, and I think it should work in a kind of open environment. So I don't imagine we are kind of structuring this. That, for example, I don't know, we are doing meetings for particular topics or anything like that. I think there should be an initiator with a specific topic, and this initiator can use the platform to broadcast this to all others, and he can work whatever he likes in a method he finds useful or the best for him. I mean, he could collaborate on deep level, very basic level, but it's up to the entity who is initiating the idea, I guess. That would be my understanding of that. We are just bringing the community and trying to give the tools for this community to effectively communicate, and that's it. And we don't want to kind of push any kind of deeper structure to that, but we are very keen to publish the results of the work and keep everybody in the loop. Make these meetings once in a while and check the progress and as I said, and motivate each other somehow to progress. Yeah, so at least at this stage, I understand this idea in that way.
I think it makes sense. So what's the next small thing?
Yeah, as I said, we from Leon Software and from our perspective, we are pushing those ideas which are really rather simple to push, because we don't need to invent anything. I mean, we are trying to go the simplest way. So we are adopting widely documented and standards which are already within IT world. We don't go deeper for the time being. So we think that the industry in general would benefit the single sign-on and OAuth2 for integration. So we will be probably I will prepare the white paper for OAuth2 to describe the business logic and the reasons. Maybe it would be interesting for others. And then we would probably go with these single sign-on. We would probably need to ask our customers what is the technology they use the most. Is it LDAP? Is it Microsoft? Is it Google or whatever? And then maybe start from the most frequent method of authentication. But as it has been said here, operators or basically our customers, they are using a lot of different platforms, and they often say it's they don't like to maintain those logins. So it's a small thing, but could be useful to just to have a single sign-on for let's say, I don't know, a few pieces of software they need to use. So those are ideas of ours. If we would, let's say, if we would need to integrate with Avionica, let's say, in particular, any particular moment, because we would have a common customer, let's say, and we would need to push some weight and balance data to Mateusz, then naturally, I guess, in that particular moment, we would discuss this with Mateusz, but maybe, okay, maybe we should figure out the schema for transferring aircraft stations data for the weight and balance, whatever, and then publish that as a proposal for exchanging weight and balance data. And I guess for the time being, we have those two ideas with OAuth2 and the single sign-on. I guess single sign-on will take us.
And yes? Diego mentioned some ideas, and I know from our perspective, we'd be also interested in some common schemas, because selfishly, we're dependent on integrations with other scheduling systems, and the definition of a trip, trips with legs, with passengers and crew members and passenger documents and all of that. So having a standardized version of that would help us. Well, if it was adopted by the community, would then make it easier for anybody else, who adopted that standard to then synchronize that data with us. So I'll vote for that one when the website is up, and when we have a way to.
I mean, you just you are welcome. I mean, you can initiate this idea with, but as I said, because it's not so easy just to vote. Then the three questions needs to be asked. I mean, answered. how should we implement it? So somebody who is initiating the idea would need also to propose the solution, because otherwise it won't go. So I guess if anybody is interested in exchanging flight data, he could probably propose the idea, and then we should discuss about the data itself. And I'm also curious how that would evolve. But I guess we would do those projects if we would have a business interest in particular moment. That's the reality, because I don't think all others would follow unless they feel it's in their interest at that moment.
Right.
I mean, we feel it's in our interest that OAuth 2 is in our interest, and also a single sign-on is in our interest if we are, thinking long run. But for others, might be different things. So so we should just keep an eye on what are those initiatives. And the question is, would be any? I'm happy to publish anyone if anyone is keen to share any ideas. You can think about any ideas for the next meeting. I mean, next meeting is going to be within 3 months. Of course, in the meantime, I will keep you in the loop on LinkedIn group and on Twitter if there are any progress, if there's any progress on OAuth 2, for example. But maybe you will have some ideas for the next meeting. I don't know. I've also sent you the terms of service, this legal stuff, very short, just to check if you are okay with that, and can we publish your company on the website with maybe I will request from you some short description and logo, so we can list members. And once we have it, I will just go deeper into the market and try to find more supporters of the idea. That would be my steps. And those initiatives I told about. But if you have any other, just please feel free to initiate them just by emailing me or putting on the LinkedIn group or whatever. Yeah, Mateusz, go ahead.
Yeah, Paweł, also I will add that when you mentioned generally about this Aviabees, I said, oh my God, this is something what I thought about the weight and balance, because generally we are facing some kind of challenge with the customers about the integrations of the weight and balance data. We are integrating enterprise customers mostly, so I think integration is gonna cost us like more than half of the time of our developers. So it's really a lot. And for example, this AHM 565 standard for weight and balance data, I had some kind of idea to create digital standard, because this is in the paper version, let's say, standard. So the sharing that between different systems is quite complex. And what's for sure I can deliver to that group, and some kind of business cases we are facing with different integrations, for example, with the EFB, or with, as I said, different enterprise systems like Amadeus, sub products like Navitar. I don't know you are familiar with those, but also my one of ideas, Paweł, because we are talking also about the integration between the Leon and Ivionica with Mbana. So if we're gonna complete that, maybe that would be also a good thing to share our like a project case, what we just prepared
that was actually my
with
idea.
the group.
Yes,
so
that
I
was
think
the
that
idea.
can be beneficial for all of us. If you are interested with such a things.
Exactly. Yeah, go ahead, Evgeny.
I think that it's very important, the next practical step, and as I really agree with Mateusz that it's much more easier to start this initiative if we can, for example, share some business cases, because this is something practical. So we are trying to integrate to each other, and we are building some scheme that we are going to use for the business, and then we can share, if we would like, we can share this scheme to each other, to other guys, and maybe if it's open source platform, someone can even help us to create something, new or maybe more optimized or something like this. This is something practical, and the next step in your initiative is very important. The next really practical step. This is what I think.
Yes, yes, I completely agree. And this is the most difficult part, I guess. Yeah, Mateusz, go ahead.
Yeah, Evgeny, I really appreciate your idea, and I think I also prefer like practical examples, so we can be also an examples. And also, Peter, you had a great idea about the about this like open source thing. I think in the long-term run, that will be great to have such a platform when we can integrate. Let's say our businesses, our softwares much easier. I know this is a hard work, but if we're gonna set a goal, I prefer the OKRs framework. Maybe that's gonna work also in that group when we can like set up a goal for such a like a really serious integration in the future. That's gonna be something across the aviation market, in my opinion. But of course, we should deliver some kind of examples to start that and to build the motivation for that.
Yeah, I think what Evgeny said, it's very important to do it on practical level, but also to make it easy at the beginning, just so others can see that the group is doing something. And I mean, this is very important. If we are able to deliver anything and share what we are doing with others, and others could pick up, then once we start this, then it should be easier. But for the very beginning, as Evgeny said, we need to probably make it practical. So, for example, Mateusz, if you are going to think about new version of this, a kind of old version paper stuff for weight and balance, and you are an expert within a weight and balance, so probably you know how to do this, and this work could be then reused by others. And I guess that would be helpful. And as Evgeny said, this is the critical point. Yes. Yeah. Okay, guys. I think we are almost done. I mean, within 1 hour. I don't want to make it too long. So. Maybe if you have some final questions, I would. If you don't have any final questions, I would just end this meeting, just to not make it too long. As I said, just to summarize, I will continue with this, legal stuff and the website, and put some website on live. We'll also prepare this OAuth 2 kind of explanation for Maxime and for others. So. Just to understand why we should develop OAuth 2, maybe from your perspective. You can think about your own initiatives. You can contact me anytime on Slack and so on, and also on email. So I guess then I will schedule another meeting within 3 months, and we'll see where we are. I mean, yeah, go ahead, Mateusz.
Pavel, I would like to say thank you for that, and I have to say, great presentation. I never knew that you have such a web designer skills. That's great. But
No,
also,
I didn't do it myself.
I know.
Zbigniew, who is already here, did it, and so
I can imagine. But what I want to say at the end. Let's to leave some kind of motivation. Let's build the USB standard for the aviation. That's what we do. Something.
Yeah, it's a very ambitious goal, but yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll see. So, any other questions? Yes.
Anyway, Pavel, thank you for this open-minded initiative. This is the idea itself is very important. I think that we can open some docs for each other and try to build something more than just our businesses to achieve more business ideas together. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Evgeny. And go ahead, Alexander. You wanted to say something?
I just want to say thank you for the help us to communicate with each other, and I think the OAuth 2 protocol is the great idea because it helps us and our clients to connect easier to another platform. Because now, when we want to connect with Leon and other software, we need to explain our client how to do this. We need to explain what the permission we need and how to send our access key and another problem. And OAuth 2 it's make it way easier.
Exactly, as you said. OAuth 2 exactly solves that's a great idea. That solves one of these problems. Yeah,
yes,
thank you for
I want to say
it up.
that we need a little bit time to think about initiative there, and maybe we can communicate in the Slack and write the point for our business some case, and if there are a lot of points of interest to be, then we can implement it. That's why we need a little bit time and write to write a point of each business, and when we write in the one flow, we can realize that.
Yeah, I guess
Sorry.
we all need time. That's why I'm not pushing this agenda too ambitious. I mean, this next meeting will be in 3 months. Thank you all guys for joining, and thank you very much for this discussion. This also help with the motivation for myself, because obviously if I have a little bit of your support, then I'm more happy to continue doing this website stuff and to push this idea. So thank you very much, and have a great weekend, and bye bye.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.